Everything is okay, right? Hello?
Hello, you can start. Okay.
How can I get, there's some, okay.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay, let's start. Can I start? Can anybody see my screen? Everything is okay?
Okay, I think.
Everything is fine. Okay, let me start my talk. Today I'm talking about political economy, farm support in the United States, China, and Thailand. So this is I try to make comparison of the three countries, and so it's I think it's like yesterday, but not yesterday. Last lecture I talked about the political economy of China, the political China. This time, but I did not talk very much about the farm sector, farm support. But this time I'm talking about the this is very special sector, agriculture. Agriculture is deserved to be a separate lecture because it is special. This is so special. And why it's so special? It means why agriculture support is so some big issues. This is one topic of this outline. And this I'm going to talk about the why it is special, and also talk about the layout, the basis for the U.S.-Thailand comparison. They have to be comparable in order to make comparison. I don't want to make some comparison between. There has some basis for the comparison. The basis for comparison between the United States and Thailand is that their democracy, they are representative politics. There is an election. There is a representative for them to speak for them in the government. And so there's an election process. So this is the basis for U.S.-Thailand comparison. This is I think this is the political context. This political context, under this political context, we can, this the economics and politics interact with each other, and that's why we can have some basics for comparison. But China is quite different, right? So that's why the comparison basically is United States and Thailand for this comparison. So U.S. farm support is has been there for a long time. U.S. farm support has been there a long time. Not very much controversial at home inside the United States, but there is a big international controversials internationally. Most notably is in the WTO negotiation. Agriculture has been very big topic in WTO negotiation. And so this is a farm support. U.S. is a big players, and in the WTO agriculture negotiation, this domestic farm support is the focus of this many countries in negotiating with the United States. So we need to know to understand what's going on regarding this agriculture development and support. And then we talk about the Thai farm support in Thailand. And in Thailand is agriculture countries. And it's agriculture countries, and especially in the past 20 years, and then agriculture has the farmers, the Thai farmers has been very active in politics. Especially they have since the Thai Party in 1997, and recently this not recently, later followed by the Thai Party, England Thai Party, and now the Thai Party still have very active Thai Party. Their base, their support, their political support is in the rural area, So since 1997, and the Thai farm has been very supported, and the Thai farm support program has been introduced. And but there's a lot of controversy at home. we see this demonstration that the corruption accusation of the Prime Minister in law. So this a lot of problem. Why the problem happened? Why this? What's the difference? What's special between Thailand and compared to the United States? We need to make some comparison. So this this can make easier to understand Thai. So Thai farm policy. So and then China. China is China is, I mean, Thai is special in comparison with the United States in terms of the agriculture sector. But Chinese agriculture is also special. Especially is that Chinese political system are different from Thailand. It's also different from the United States. It's quite special. So that's why we need to single out. And also, the China is a big trading partners of Thailand. So Thailand has a substantial trade in agricultural products with China. We need to understand the Chinese farm support. So the main reason. Then we will in this lecture we'll go through the why farm support is a big issue. Then why what's the basis of the U.S.-Thai political Thai comparison? And at the end, we'll talk about this. If you understand the Chinese farm support and the Thai farm support, then you have a better understanding of the China-ASEAN trade relationship. That's we'll put at the end of the lecture. I'll talk about this China-ASEAN trade relationship. Okay. Why farm support is such a big issue? In fact, agriculture is a sensitive topic in world trade. From an international trade perspective, agriculture is very, very sensitive. It's sensitive that the Doha round WTO negotiation has spent a lot of time to talk about the agricultural reform. The Doha round. And another sector, there are two sectors that's most sensitive in international trade. One is agriculture. Another is textile and clothing. Textile clothing. There has been agreement they call the multi-fiber arrangement. The agreement. This agreement is allocated the quotas for all the textile for many countries. So there's quota how much clothes you can textile and clothes you can produce and export to a certain country. There are quotas. But the quotas, this has been a top issue in the 1970s, 80s, and even 90s until 2006, when this agreement has been phased out, and the agriculture, textile and clothing export has been liberalized. That's in 2006. But agriculture issue has remained to be very, very sensitive issues. And this is a sensitive issue because then the Doha round negotiation is about development, right? About the development. Because development, the agriculture is a focal point, the center, it's a central issues in the Doha round WTO negotiation. But Doha round negotiation has been very, very slow. Has been very, very slow. They have been there for about more than 20-something years. The reason they have been so slow have not been finished because the agriculture is such a thorny issue. It's difficult issues. It's politically sensitive issues. It's very hard to reach agreement. That's the WTO in terms of WTO negotiation. That's the issue. Another issue, the agriculture farm support is a big issue. Is Thailand is an agriculture country. Thailand is also in the Cairns Group country. It's in the Cairns Group. Cairns Group is country is composed of Australia, New Zealand, and Brazil, and some and Thailand. They are based more than that, and also Canada. They are basically those countries has a very efficient agricultural system, and they export a lot of farm products, and they are pushing for the trade liberalization in agriculture products. And those groups are founded in the at a conference in Cairns in Australia. So they're named after the town the group was first founded. Right? So this is current group. It's a big player. It's also a big player. It's a group of middle powers, not superpowers. Superpower. United States is superpower. European Union is superpower. But those countries, Canada, Australia, and Thailand, all those countries, Brazil, they call themselves middle powers. But they put together, they coordinate their position in the WTO negotiation to push for the agriculture reform. So Thailand's trade partner has substantial agricultural subsidies, US, China, and India. So that's why it is important you understand the agriculture issues in the United States, agriculture issues in China, and most recent, and also in India. There's a story. I'm not sure if you have followed that. Recently there was a WTO ministerial meeting, and they talk about the WTO reform, and the Thailand's ambassador to WTO has criticized the Indians' rice program. They believe that India has subsidized the rice production and stockpile a lot of rice product and dump in the international market to capture market share. This is the Thai ambassador's criticism of the Indian government. But Indian government is not very happy, so there's a big diplomatic issues. And Thailand has to recall the ambassador and replace a new replacement. So that's the big issues. Agriculture is a big topic in the international relations between Thailand and India. So it's important, of course, in the Thai's relation between China, also important issues. So Thailand's own rice pledging scheme under Prime Minister Yingluck is also a big issue at home, right? It's also a big issue at home. But Yingluck it's a domestic issue. There are a lot of protests. There are a lot of promises to give the farmers support their rice support. And but some people are not very happy with this, accuse the Prime Minister Yingluck's corruption. And then there's a political issues, right? And eventually the Yingluck has to step down. They replace form new government. So the government has to be replaced. So the agriculture is such a big issue. It's part of it related to your life, and it's part of your daily economic and political issues. You have to be as a student at Samsung University. I think it's good for you to understand, to know something about this farm support. Okay, WTO Doha round. WTO Doha round started in the 2000s. It's a development round. Agriculture issue is essential to development round because they say WTO Doha round. This round is going to be a development round. They'll focus how to reform international trade system, international trading system, in order to help the poor countries to develop. Right? So this is the development round, the idea of the development round. Development round is, when we talk about development, people will talk about the rural development because most of the poor people live in the rural areas. It's very important for the rural area. But agriculture is a big industry, it's a big sector in the rural, right? So naturally, agriculture it will be a focus. The people has been talking about to reform agriculture without making any progress in the reforming the liberalized agriculture sector, and the Doha round will not make any progress, right? Because some people believe the trading system in the agriculture system is highly distorted, which means it's unfair. It's unfair because the rich countries like European Union, Japan, European Union, and United States, their agriculture sector has been heavily subsidized. When it's subsidized, they export cheap crops in the international market. And also they have trade barriers to restrict the market access of agricultural products from developing countries. That's why it's not fair for the developing countries, and it's not fair for developed countries that is hurt the developing countries, they hurt the farmers, they hurt the poverty reduction, they hurt the rural development. So the people say, if you have talking about the Doha round, the development round, you have to focus on the agriculture issues. So Currents Group has been pushing for this, including Thailand. Currents Group is on the offensive, they're pushing. United States, EU is on the defensive because those countries spend a lot of money to subsidize their agriculture, and the people in the Currents Group want them to restrict their subsidies, to reduce the subsidies, to make them, world trading in agriculture more liberalized, more fair, to be fair. But China and India are developing countries, so they won't have something. Their position is that they want something special, differential treatment. They also have the subsidies, but they don't want to liberalize, to remove the subsidies. They say, well, we're developing countries, we have a special concern. We want some special differential treatment. By special differential treatment, which means they give them longer time to reduce their agriculture subsidies, right? To give them some policies, they can give them a policy space, so they can restrict the farm product imports, right? So this is the position for the China and India at the developing countries. They have a special treatment. So the WTO Doha round has been started in 2001, but still ongoing. This round of negotiation so far has been the longest round in the WTO, in the GATT and WTO history, right? Previous negotiation like Tokyo round, Uruguay round, is just a couple of years, like 5 to 7 years, so not that long. But this Doha round has been there for over 20 years. So some people say the reason is that we are very difficult to reach agreement on the agriculture issues. Why agriculture issues so difficult? Why the subsidies on the agriculture are so difficult to be reduced? Well, this is the important issues. But this lecture try to give some introduction and explanation, so the student can know and have some idea of this. Okay. This graph gives you some idea about this agriculture support in China, United States, and European Union. And we see the agriculture support in the United States and the European Union has been there for a long time, right? But not very much. You don't see them decline, but they have been maintained a very high level, but very stable. But China's agriculture support, it was small. In the 1990s, it's been small. But after the China joined the WTO in 2001, and the Chinese economy is starting to take off. And the economy starts to take off, the country is getting richer. The country is getting richer, they have more resources to support their agriculture. So that's why you see that China's agriculture has big issues. The agriculture support has been soaring since the 2008, right? It's been soaring. The Chinese agriculture support has been very, very big. But it has been so harsh in the total support in the United States and the Green. So this is the problem, right? Oh, sorry. Okay. Now, Currents Group and Thailand. Currents Group has Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, and many other countries. But Thailand is one of them, right? This is a coalition of agriculture exporting countries pushing for agriculture trade liberalization. Have very competitive agriculture sector, least protected. But Thailand has still some substantial protection for agriculture, both domestic and border areas. Right? Domestic program is a rice program for rice. Also, the border area they support something that they're going to have a cheap imports. You don't want the corn. They protect the corn, right? Corn and I think the sugar cane, I'm not sure it's a sugar cane, but corn is one of them. The corn, but because corn is produced mainly in the United States, right? US mainly, but China, the Thailand is a very competitive rice sector, but still need some support. But generally speaking, Science Group has been very efficient agriculture, but minimal support. Agriculture in Australia was once heavily protected. But the Australia at one point, but the problem is that Australia, the agriculture was protected, but the manufacturing industries are protected even more at that time. But at that time, the Australian farmers say, let's just remove the protection, liberalize our international trade. By liberalizing international trade, they will have created a level playing field. It's been fair. It's better for the agriculture because in Australia before our agriculture was protected, but the manufacturers are protected even more. So it's unfair for agriculture. But if they totally liberalized, the agriculture and the manufacturer are the same. They have a minimal protection. And so you know what? This case when this is the case when Australia does not have that's why the Australia has a very free trade. Is the champion for free trade in agriculture because at home agriculture farmers many years ago when the agriculture was highly protected industries, they push for the liberalization. Agriculture farmers in Australia they push for liberalization to remove they move against the protection. The reason is that even though the agriculture was protected, but manufacturers are protected even more. It would be better just remove all the protection. That would be good for agriculture industry. So that's the case for Australia. But Thailand's situation today is different. Thailand's agriculture is more protection for Thailand's agriculture compared to manufacturing. Right, compared to manufacturing, but Thailand still have a more protection. Its protection basically in terms of border measures, I mean tariff is basically they try to protect the restrict imports of corns. Corn is not the product they Thailand is good at, but they want to protect the corn production, right? So this the corn production and. The rice support basically is a domestic measure. It's a price support. They just like the INLUX program. They set the high price, promise that no matter how much you produce, the government will buy it at a higher price. It's similar to India. So this is the situation in the agriculture support for Thailand and the background for Thailand. Thailand actually is the leading export, highly efficient agriculture. I think Thailand does not need in terms of if there is a free competition, the Thai farm sector can survive. The Thai farm sector does not need that much protection because Thai agriculture, like New Zealand, Brazil, are very, very productive, very efficient, very productive. They can compete in the international market. And the point is that it does not need that support. But then there is some support. Why is there some support? Let's talk about there's some political issues. Okay. So the basis for the US-Thailand comparison is that they are representative politics. US and Thailand US and Thailand is so much different. One is a tropical country. Another is just in North America. There are a lot of land. They don't, but Thailand and US are so different, but in terms of political system, they're also very different, right? They're also very different. Thailand is a constitutional monarchy, and the United States is a republic, but fundamentally, they look different, but fundamentally, they are democracy. By democracy, I mean there is an election. Their election, there's a bottom-up elections. The politicians have to answer to their voters. So that's the political system in place. In contrast to China, China is different. China is a top-down selection. It's not election, it's a selection, top-down selection. The people at the top select and approve the officials down under. And then the people in the middle select the officials in the grassroots. So this is the system works. The politicians answer to the higher level officials. They don't answer to farmers. They don't answer to farmers. They answer to the higher level officials. It's totally different. Totally different. So that's why I think I don't want to make comparison between US and China. I don't want to make comparison between Thailand and China because their political system is different. But between US and Thailand, even though they look different, one is in Asia, another is in North America. They look different, but their political system has something fundamentally the same. That's it. Okay. So what's the difference between Thailand? So within the framework, let's compare to some data. We talk about some economics, right? The economic issues. We talk about the per capita GDP. Per capita GDP. I assume you all know what's per capita GDP, right? And per capita GDP here is for United States, the per capita GDP is 76,000 US dollar. For Thailand is less than 7,000 US dollar. So Thailand's per capita GDP is, so Thailand is, United States at the per capita level is 10 times richer than Thailand, right? In per capita level. But in terms of the share of agriculture employment in total employment, in the United States, only 1.7% of total labor force are employed in agriculture sector. But in Thailand, it's 30%, more than 30% employed in the agriculture sector. So economically, if you want to subsidize agriculture, it's easier to do it in the United States. It's harder to do it in Thailand. Why is that? It's because the rich country per capita cost is very, very small. Say in the United States, you want to support agriculture, support the people working in the agriculture sector. Those people only account for 1.7%, very small group of people. For a rich country to subsidize a small group of people, the cost is small, right? The total cost is small, especially for per capita cost. If the cost is shared by all this population, but each person just costs a little bit, so tiny, so small. So they don't feel it, they don't care. It's because it's so small for each person. For a rich person, take a little bit of money to support the farmers. It's so small. For the country, the fiscal burden is very light, right? So this is one point. Let me repeat. Economically, because the United States is very, very rich compared to, but its agricultural population is very small. So the tax burden to subsidize agriculture is small, right? Especially if you share it with the whole population, each person, they just pay a little bit, very, very small to subsidize the farmers. So the people don't care because the cost is small. It's small. It doesn't care, right? But in Thailand, Thailand is the per capita GDP is 10%, only 10% of the United States. Thailand is a middle income developing countries, right? It's a middle income developing country. I'm not saying Thailand is a poor country. Thailand is not a poor country. Thailand is a middle income countries. But still, Thailand is a developing countries, right? It's a developing countries. It's a 30% of the population. The developing country is not that rich as in the United States, right? But you have to subsidize 30% of your population. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money you have to spend. That's a lot of money you have to spend, right? So the fiscal burden is very heavy. But if you share the burden by the population, some people will feel it's too costly, too expensive, too costly. They're not happy. So that can create unhappiness among the people living in the cities, working in the industry, working in the service sectors. They're not happy about this because they're not that rich, super rich, but they have to pay so much money to subsidize farmers. They're not happy. Then this will create political backlash. Political backlash, I mean, the opposition, people are not happy. People will protest. And also because of fiscal burden, and so political opposition, this program is very difficult in Thailand to sustain. Another point, because in the United States, the number of farmers are small. The number of farmers are small. When they are small, what does it mean? It means it's easier for them to work together. It's easier for them to work together, lobby in the United States, to coordinate there, to do lobby in the United States. This is the economic concept, the free rider problem. If the people are fewer, we can know everybody has to work very hard, right, to make this happen, to make the farm support happen. But if there's a many people, some people will say, okay, let other people do the lobbying, do the work. So who will not actually make a contribution to this political campaign, right? We call this a free rider problem. Free rider problem is a problem when there are many people. It's very hard to monitor, to coordinate. But when the players are small, the number of the players small, like in the United States, the number of farmers small, it's very easy for them to coordinate, to organize, and to have a strong lobby. So this is another reason, it's easier to do farm lobby in the United States, but it's harder to do it in Thailand. That's because even though the two countries have the same political system, but economically, structure are so different. Economic structure is so different. So this is a financial burden. It's unbearable in Thailand compared to the United States. But in the United States, now that they don't have this problem. In addition, the number of farmers in the US are small. It's easier for them to work together, to coordinate, to organize together, to lobby, to engage in political lobbying, and in the United States. So that's some. We look at the number, we know this. It's easier to do it in the United States and harder to do it, right? So this another reason is politically, farm interests are overrepresented in the United States. This is the map of the United States. They have the crops, all the crops, and some cattle crops are grown in all over the United States, right? But even for some area in the Midwest, in the middle, or in the Midwest, and there are a lot of land, but not very many people, right? But in the United States, we know in the U.S. Senate, U.S. has 50 states. 50 states. Thailand has about a lot of provinces, right? But United States has 50 states. Each state has 2 senators. Thailand has, U.S. has 50 states. Each state has 2 senators. 2 senators mean it doesn't matter how many people, what's the population in your state. You always has 2 senators. Alaska has 2 senators. California has a big population. They only have 2 senators, right? Some states, like in the Midwest, Iowa, South Dakota, and those people are just very few people, but they are the state. It's one state. Then they have 2 senators. So total they have 100 senators. But then each state has 2, and regardless of population. So in that sense, agriculture, farmers' interest, all those a lot of farm states, agriculture states, they have a lot of farmland. They don't have people, but still they have 2 senators. So farm interests, they are overrepresented. Politically, they are overrepresented in the U.S. Senate, right? So this is another reason it's overrepresented. But in terms of population density, this is the population density. The House of Representatives, election of House of Representatives is based on the population. The more population your state, the more representative you have in the House, right? This day you see California has a lot of representatives, New York has a lot of representatives, but then Florida has a lot. Chicago, Illinois has a lot of representatives, but not in the not in Iowa, Dakota, all those farmland countries. So that's this is the idea, give you an idea that agriculture sector has been politically overrepresented in the U.S. Senate. But if you pass a law, you have to pass the U.S. Senate. This is very important. They are very strong politically in the U.S. Congress. But in Thailand, that's different. In Thailand, the agricultural support is a campaign promise for the Pure Thai Party, for the inland. She wants to have some support, make the voters happy in Thailand. She just promised them, just like his, just promised, I will raise the price of rice, no matter how they produce, I will buy your rice at higher price. And lots of people are very happy in the rural area, right? People in the northeastern, in the north, in the grown rice, the poor region, they are very happy. That's their political base. So they got a vote, they elected them, right? That's the political campaign. This is the campaign promise. They elect them. But the point is, once you elect, you have to get money. Where to get money? Thailand is, if the government has fund money, if you find money, you have to, your government spending, you have to spend a lot of money too. But it's difficult to get money, right? You have a lot of money, but if you have to increase tax to tax other people to pay for the subsidy agriculture. But then the other people will not be, right? So there's a bargaining, there's a struggle between the people living in the city and the government. So it's very hard for them to get money to support farmers. And sometimes we all know what happened. And some farmers get rice, but they cannot get the money. That's because they don't have the money, right? It's hard to get them because the system, this kind of a plan, the scheme, it's a good design. It's not a good design because it's very expensive. And it's very expensive for developing countries, right? It's very expensive because a large population in the rural area. And Thailand is a developing countries. They have to difficult to raise that much money to support farmers. And then Inla got into trouble. This picture was taken outside the courthouse, and Inla was put on trial for the corruption, right? His political enemy have to, find a way to get rid of him. So that's the story. We all know that's the story, but that's different from United States, right? They all want to get the votes. But they all want to get this. But it's easier to do it in the United States to get votes, right? They all want to answer to their voters, to their to a district. But then it's because one is richer, and they have a small farm population. Another is developed country; they have a large farm population. So one is easier to do, the other is difficult. That's why this is a political economy of the system of the U.S. and Thailand. So comparison, we got so the farm support in the U.S. and Thailand, the different farm support, different outcomes. U.S. farm support both economic, political, sustainable. Right? U.S. farm support is both economically and politically sustainable. But it's the same idea for Japan, for European Union. The same idea. They are a rich country, but their farm population small. It's easier to subsidize. It's not expensive. The cost is small. People don't care, right? It's the same for Japan and United States. It's a U.S. situation is similar to Japan and European Union, but for Thailand, high farm support is different. Rice pledging scheme on the inland, fiscal difficulties, spiritual political, and not sustainable, right? And India's farm support is pretty much similar to Thai farmers. I'm not sure if you follow the news. If you do, you know what happened in New Delhi. The Indian farmers are protest in New Delhi. Their protest, they want to make sure it's the same as the Thai rice farmers protest 10 years ago. Oh, not 10 years ago, but many years ago. Because the Indian farmer has the same problem with the Thai farmers because they cannot get the money. The government promised them to buy their crops at higher price, but government does not keep the promise. Cannot keep the promise. The government cannot keep the promise because government does not have that much money to buy it, right? It's the same as Thai rice farmers. Inland promise to buy their rice at higher price, but inland does not has difficulty to get the money. That's why inland got a problem. That's why Thai rice farmers protest. For the same reason, recently, the farmers in India, they protest in New Delhi. It's the same reason, same story. These farmers are rice and wheat, right? This is similar to Thailand's rice support program. So this the US and Thailand comparison actually is you can think about this is a comparison between the rich countries and developing countries, between the developed countries and the developing countries. Their agricultural support, they have different outcome, but their motivation are the same. They want to get the votes. The politician want to get the votes. The politician promised them, but then the politician has a problem to get money because these developing countries, they have a large agricultural population. If you want to subsidize agriculture, you need a lot of money, but it's a developing country. They're not that rich. It's difficult for them, right? So this happened to Thailand, to India, right? So this is different from United States, from Japan, and European Union, right? So we can make comparison between developing country and the developed countries because they are under the same political system, representative politics. India is a democracy, we know, right? India is a democracy. The politicians are worried about this if they can get whether or not the farmers are happy. They want the farmer to be happy because they want to get the votes. They want to get elected, right? So in this sense, they are on the same political system, representative politics, and U.S. and Thailand comparison can be generalized to developed countries and developing countries comparison, right? But China is different, right? China is a one-party totalitarian state. This is the China. So no election, no farm lobby, no farmers' votes. So that's the issue. Then why they? But then, so the China is a one-party totalitarian state. There are no election, no farm lobbying, no farm support, right? But China still have a farm support program. Now, what's the reason why China wants to support support their agriculture? By support their agriculture, I mean to support their grain. You have to be careful. When they talk about the support their agriculture, they talk support their grain, the wheat, corn, rice. That's something they support their wheat, corn, rice. But the problem is that China does not have comparative advantage in land-intensive crops. I'm not sure if you all know what's the comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is a concept. Is comparatively, you can do better in one crops, not necessarily absolutely. So if you have a comparative advantage in one thing, it will be cheaper for you to produce this product and export. You're competitive in these products. But China does not have a comparative advantage in land-intensive crops. China has a big country. China has a big country, but China agricultural land is very limited because most of the part in the West are deserts, right? The mountain is not good for agriculture, for farming. And also China has a large population. You have to compare the ratio between the population and the land. The land, so then we know China is not good to grow wheat, corn, and rice. So it's a lot cheaper if we buy from America. We buy from America, from Brazil, or from Thailand. Buy rice from Thailand. That's very cheap, right? So China should, because of the China has a lot of population, but the land is relatively small piece of land. China don't have a comparative in the production of wheat and corn. It's good you have to import. But China has a policy. They want to maintain 95% the grain consumed in China is grown in China, which means they want to maintain 95% self-sufficiency, right? And to maintain this 95% self-sufficiency, they need protection. That's the logic. Right? That's the logic. China is not good at growing wheat, corn, and rice because that's very expensive. It's cheaper to buy from America, from Brazil, from Thailand, right? It's cheaper. But then because China has the Communist Party want to maintain 95% self-sufficiency, which means for 95% consumption has to be grown in China. You can only import 5% from abroad. That's their self-sufficiency, right? Self-sufficiency, 95% self-sufficiency. They call this food security. They call it food security. They think we do this not for the reason to support the farmers, because the farmers have a votes. They won't have a votes from farmers. A farmer has some political influence, political clout. That's not reason. That's not reason. The reason is that the Communist Party's understanding of food security is that you have to produce, you grow 95% has to be China. The Communist Party believe this is the food security, right? This is food security. So the China and Brazil, U.S. government subsidize their agriculture. So U.S. agriculture export is very cheap. It's very cheap. China is agriculture importing countries. China import a lot of grain, right? Grain and corn. But China should be very happy. China should have been very happy to see U.S. export cheap agriculture, because China buy a lot, right? China import. China's consumers, people need cheap food to feed their families, right? So if U.S. farmers is subsidized, get subsidies, U.S. food will be very cheap, which means that the U.S. taxpayers subsidize Chinese consumers, which is very happy. China should be very happy. But Brazil is different. Brazil export a lot of cotton, soybean, also export a lot of cotton, soybean. So Brazil and United States, they both export soybean and cotton into the world. So these two countries, Brazil and US, they are competitors. They compete with each other in the world market for agriculture exports. But China is different. China does not export those. China import grain and wheat, right? So China should be the US subsidy. And it's understandable, Brazil is not happy with US subsidy because Brazil has to compete with US farmers to export, right? But it's very strange. In the WTO agriculture negotiation, China and Brazil are not happy for the United States, right? They are the same attitudes towards US farm support. They are against it. Brazil is against it because Brazil is a competitor for the US as exporter. China is against it because US farm support will result in cheap agricultural products, right? Or cheap agricultural products will hurt the China's farm grain sectors, grain producers. Even though it's good for consumers, right? So that's but China wants to maintain 95% of its domestic consumption to be grown in China. So that's the reason China is not happy with US farm support. Right, so total different reason, but same attitudes. Both China and Brazil are not happy for the United States. Okay. What's the political economy of Chinese green support? When I talk about the Chinese agriculture support, we're talking about green support. Okay? Because we have to be careful. Green, agriculture, and industry. The three are different priority in the minds of the Chinese Communist Party. So overall, the industrial development is high priority. To produce car, to produce computer, to produce machinery is a higher priority in the early years of the industrial development. The agriculture is taxed. It's taxed to subsidize heavy and high-tech industries. So the farmers, the political status is low, and compared to the workers in the state-owned enterprise, in the industries. So agriculture is taxed. So farmer has no political status in China. But within agriculture, the green production is important. the Communist Party believe the grain production is important. Grain production is subsidized, right? The grain production is subsidized. Horticulture, including fruits, vegetables, gardenings, and horticulture is low in priority list. So horticulture, the overall agriculture has a low priority compared to industry. But within agriculture, grain production is important, but horticulture is lower in the priority list. So horticulture, the Chinese the gardeners, Chinese farmers in fruit farmers and vegetable growers, they are the lowest in the political hierarchies. They're lowest, right? So they're important. So food security in China is grain self-sufficiency, right? So if you can buy cheap grain from North America, from Brazil, from Thailand, why do you have worry about security? You always have a food supply, right? There are plenty of rice, plenty of green corn and soybean. You don't have to worry. Why do you have to worry? They believe this is a food security issue because they believe sometimes how it is possible in the future, at some point of time, there will be an embargo. The embargo is that they don't allow the grain to be shipped to China. They don't allow the rice to be shipped to China. They don't allow the soybean to be shipped to China. There will be embargo, right? So why they have this kind of perceptions? Why do the Communist Party have this perception about the embargoes? This is because the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party, believe they're different politically from the Western democracy or from any democracy in the world. Democracy and totalitarian are totally different political systems. And they are worried about the influence of democracy, the political influence of democracy will eventually be introduced in China. When the democracy, the idea of democratic politics is introduced in China, the Chinese people will demand the political rights. Then they have to demand to share the power with the Communist Party. The Communist Party will have to give up some power, if not all. That's why the Communist Party have a sense of insecurity when it's surrounded by the democracy. That's why when China ruled by the Communist Party, when China is doing international trade with Western democracies, it always has this in his mind, possible embargo, possible conflict. They always believe, the Communist Party always believe, eventually there is going to be a conflict. Political conflict or economic conflict or maybe military conflict with the West. When that happens, it is possible, it's a possibility that the West will embargo, will restrict the export of agricultural products to China, will be embargoed. So that's the thinking of the Communist Party. So that's why he believes food security, food sufficiency is a matter of security, it's a national security. Because he believes his potential suppliers of agricultural products from the United States, Brazil, or from Thailand those countries' ideology has different ideology. And those different ideology will lead to war. When it's lead to the war, something happen, they'll be embargo. So this is the thinking. This is the thinking of the Communist Party. So for the Communist Party, it's a survival instinct. That's the motivation of China's agricultural support. It's not because they concerned about the Chinese farmers' income. They are concerned about Chinese farmers, the grain growers, the grain farmers' livelihood. No, it's not because the Chinese farmer has no votes. They don't care about this. They protect the green sector in China is for different reasons, but it's not for the Chinese farmers. Votes. They are worried about this eventual conflict. They'll be able to have enough green to survive this conflict. So that's the consideration. So there's some people say this is the diagram, the OECD diagram. They talk about this producer versus consumption. Who do agriculture subsidize? You know, who benefit from this subsidy? In China case, they say, well, because China has to protect the its agricultural production, but consumer is not happy, right? Consumers suffer, right? Consumers suffer, but the producer receive a lot of support, right? We can't say the consumer producer receive a lot of support, but by producer in this diagram, you have to be careful. The producers are farmers, but they have a bureaucracy. The Chinese bureaucracy, that's the Green Bureau, the government run Green Bureau. They monopolize the green procurement and distribution. And also have a COFCO. It's a state-owned trading companies to manage the monopoly the China's green trade, import and export. So when there are subsidies, the subsidy will have to distribute, shared by the farmers, green bureaus, and COFCOs. But most of the subsidies goes to the state-owned state bureaucracies and state-owned companies, not to farmers. So don't be misled. Don't be misled by this diagram to say, well, the producer receive a lot of subsidies. The Chinese Communist Party love the farmers so much and give them a lot of subsidies. That's not the truth. Chinese government may spend a lot of money on agriculture, on green production, but who benefit? It is the Green Bureau who buy from the farmers at low price and sell at the mass market at higher price. And also because the COFCO, the state-owned trading companies, they buy at the international market at low price and sell at home at higher price. They make big profits, but not farmers, not farmers. So this is the political economy, right? Now what's the understand this issue? Now we turn to a question about the China-ASEAN trade relations. This is the midterm exam question I gave to my student in my last semester for the political economy course, the last semester. I probably now you know how to answer the question. You know. So the question is, China-ASEAN free trade negotiation took only 2 years to finish. But China, Japan, and Korea FTA negotiation has been in talks for more than 10 years. So my question is, why was ASEAN so quick to reach a deal with China? The second question, why has it been so difficult for Japan and Korea to reach a deal with China? Why has rights not been included in the China-ASEAN agreement? After this lecture, I'm sure you can answer the question, get full points. And the reason is, see, that's the fact. The China-ASEAN FTA negotiation has been only 2 years. It took they have been only two years to finish the negotiation. Very quick, very quick. But China, Japan, and Korea FTA has been taking long, very, very long. But still talking. It's very difficult to finish. Why ASEAN FTA is so easy to reach with China? The reason is ASEAN export to China not very much industrial exports, not heavy machinery, not computer, not cars, mostly agricultural products, especially for Thailand. Vegetable, fruits are the biggest part of the exports. But as we discussed earlier, the fruit growers in China, Chinese farmers who grow fruits and vegetables, they are the least. They don't have the political influence in China, right? They don't have political influence. It's not important, politically not important sector. That's why the Chinese government are very happy to open their market to let in Thai or ASEAN fruits and vegetables and flowers come to China. It's not important. But why is so difficult for Japan and Korea to reach into China? Because Japan, Korea, they export cars, they export semiconductors, they export computers, they export machineries. Those are sectors, as we talked earlier, has high priority. That's heavy and high-tech industries. That's heavy industries that's supported by the Chinese Communist Party. So it's state-owned enterprise. That state-owned enterprise are very, very politically powerful. If you have a chance to open this market to import Korea and Japan, Japanese car and semiconductors and machinery, it's very, very difficult. The political opposition at home is very, very strong. State-owned enterprise is very, very strong. But Chinese farmers who grow vegetables, who grow fruits, they don't have this political clout. And they don't have votes. There are no elections, don't have votes. So the Chinese government say, well, just open it in the ASEAN fruits. So they see a lot of fruits export to China. I heard reports the Chinese farmers are not very happy. The vegetable growers, the fruits growers are not very happy because their harvest has been their business has been affected, adversely affected, and not happy, right? So why has rice not been included in China's grain? Because rice is part of the grain, it's part of the it is part of grain, it's part of the agriculture farm support, is covered by farm support. China wants to restrict import in order to protect its rice sector. That's why ASEAN has a difficult time to negotiate with the export, rice export to China. But that's why it's easy for ASEAN to export fruits, durian fruits, dragon fruits. All those fruits are very, very easy to export to China, as long as you pass the sanitary standards and all the technical standards. You pass them. So it will be quality control. You can pass the quality control and sell it. Very little restriction in terms of tariff, but it's easy compared to rice. But rice is the sector the Communist Party believes it's matter as far as national security is concerned. So they won't have their own domestic production capacity. That's why they want to restrict imports from foreign countries, from Japan, from America, from ASEAN, from rice. That's why rice has to be excluded from China-ASEAN agreement. Once the rice is excluded, the deal is very easy to reach. Right, so the deal is very easy to reach. So that's the. If you understand the political economy of farm support in China, you'll be easier to understand the relationship between China-ASEAN trade relationships. Okay, let's conclude. What time is it? Wow, it's 1 hour, more than 1 hour. Let's conclude. So the conclusion is that for Thailand and the United States, political system similar, but economic structure different. So they have a different farm support outcomes. One is sustainable, another is not sustainable. China is special is because it's ruled by a party state's critical priority. They have a priority, the heavy industry, state industry is most important. In agriculture, green sector is important. The green are important because they believe this is important for their survival, right? The regime survival, not because they believe they love the farmers, not because they love the farmers. They're different reasons. So once you understand this, you will understand China-ASEAN trade, which is good for Thai fruits growers. If you grow fruits in Thailand, you'll have a very good relationship with China. But you have a grow rice farmers, it's very difficult to export rice to China. So that's the conclusion, that's the point. Thank you very much for your time. And this my lecture is finished. So I welcome your comments. If you have comments, we can have still have some time and discuss. Or if you want to reach me, you can send me an email. My email is here. You can send email to me so we can have we can find other time to communicate. Either you come to my office or we can it's on campus somewhere. Many other ways to communicate. Just send me an email. Send me an email, or you have a question, I'm ready to answer your question now. Okay, that's my presentation. Yeah. Okay, I'm finished. Hello. Any question? Yeah. Any question? Ooh. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Hey, I welcome your question. Hello. If no question, okay, that's our lecture is finished today. And I welcome your comments. Send me a comments and to my email. Oh, how to avoid embargo that is likely to be happening. No, it's not. How to avoid embargo? Well, it's something. No, I mean embargo is the embargo against China. It's not embargo against the United States or against Thailand. This is a scenario. This is a scenario that they like clearly in the mind of the Chinese Communist Party, because the Chinese counterparts believe their system is different from the West. And there may be a conflict. When a conflict happens, there may be a problem. So how to avoid embargo? Don't do anything that can result in a conflict. Peaceful, harmonious relationship with the world. That's the key. But sometimes the government, probably the ruling Communist Party, may not be confident they can avoid it. I don't know how to avoid it. Just see, there's a war between Russia and Ukraine. When war happens, the trade is disrupted, right? So what happens if there's a war in the Taiwan Straits? What about a war in the Korea Peninsula? When that happens, international trade will be disrupted, right? How to avoid the embargo that is likely to happen to North America, Brazil, and China? So, world peace, but it's hard. It's hard. The question is how to avoid a war between Ukraine and Russia. How to avoid a war between Taiwan and China. It's the same question. But it's a very difficult question. It's a difficult question. I don't know the answer. I just know, it's how to avoid. Eventually, you have to have a democracy. You have a democracy. You have give the people the chance to speak, and they give the people chance to choose their political leader. That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate way to maintain the world peace and to avoid the trade, a world war, and then to avoid the embargo. So that's my answer to your question. It's just a political liberalization, no dictatorship, democracy. Then there will be world peace, and there is no embargo. When there's no embargo for food embargo, like Gaza, when there's the people are starving, suffering because there's war in Israel. It's a war in Gaza between the Hamas and Israel, and because of war, there's a starvation. It's hard to ship food, right? So we have to be democracy. There's a democracy. There's no dictatorship. There's a democracy. Then that's ensure the peace. That will ensure the peace. That will ensure this free flow of goods around the world, and that's the way to avoid the embargo. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your question. Any other question? Oh, I don't know who you are. If possible, can you? Yeah, can anybody just volunteer to explain to introduce yourself? I just have some name, but I don't see the picture. I don't know who you are, but I want to know something about your background, and so I'll be so easy. Oh, Nu Chen. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So I welcome you stop by my office. If you have a chance, you have more questions, stop by my office. Okay, if we don't have question, I think should we finish? So should we finish our meeting? Okay, I think we're done. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Suli, and all the participants for joining today's lecture. We see you again next session. Thank you. Bye bye.